All right, everybody, welcome to the Scho-Zone. I am your host, Ryan Schofield, coming at you on Monday afternoon. This is June the 3rd, I believe. Thank you for tuning in. I'm very excited right now. We just crossed a milestone. We are currently at 40 subscribers, which is good because every video I'm putting out there, I'm getting another subscriber, so I will continue to put videos out there. If you are new to the Scho-Zone, let me just give you my brief sales pitch on why you should keep tuning in and why you should like and subscribe. Simply put it, I'm just a real regular guy that's been watching sports and betting on them for quite a long time, doing it for some success. And I really am just not scared to share my opinions, which sometimes are not the most common, but I like to think that they're well researched. Very knowledgeable in the St. Louis Cardinals and most things baseball. And that's really the most thing that's really worth about caring right now. Doing a decent amount of traveling, going from ballpark to ballpark and chronicling my experiences. So if you're into that kind of thing, maybe this will be something that you can enjoy or send to a friend that may. So I'm going to come at you again. This is St. Louis Cardinals stuff. Disappointing series this weekend against the Philadelphia Phillies, but it's a kind of a nice reminder as to where they stand. Is that you know they I really hate the new playoff formats. Here they are, they're 7 games out of the division, but they're currently a wild card, I guess. Like, I mean, they're 2, 3 games below 500. Nothing that you should feel great about. Now, it is nice that they're going to keep me interested throughout most of the summer, it seems now. They wrote me back in. This is exactly what the front office wants. They're selling that false hope, but again, 2 of the 3 games against the Phillies just really weren't even competitive, and that just lets you know where you stand. Now, again, I'm the guy that says all I ask for out of the agreements with my favorite team is just to keep me interested. That is true, but I did not foresee the Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado years being happy to compete. They were doing that before they had these MVP level players who, well, Goldie is kind of back there. Arenado, I was saying that if he can get back to form, then suddenly it changes my optimism. This weekend, not a great weekend for him. Had some chances to make a mark on the series, and for the most part, did not. The pitching, I mean, again, Sonny Gray, it's when we don't score runs, it doesn't matter what he does. But again, obviously he can overpower a lineup. I was not sure about the ace thing, but going into Philly, I've been to a Philly game before, and I can imagine that on a Friday night against a team like the Cardinals. And don't worry, when I was there, they brought up 2011 to me. I didn't bring it up to them, so that's fresh on their mind. I'm sure that they, really relish in that victory. But Sonny Gray goes in there. I think he had 10 Ks. I mean, that's a solid outing. That is a guy that we can get behind if we get into that playoff format there. Not sure how I feel about what's going on behind. I mean, when Kyle Gibson and Lance Lynn, your best thing you can say is that they're eating innings or they're getting through it. That's good for the regular season, but when it comes playoff time, I need guys that can actually get people out. Lance Lynn actually is the guy that when you don't expect him to, probably will, but that's neither here nor there. But encouraging signs. Nolan Gorman has found his power again. I mean, the home run that he hit last night was not a typical one, but it's always a good sign. I had bet the Cardinals last night, and when the opposing starter, Taijuan Walker, falls behind in a 2-0 count to Nolan Gorman, that's not easy to do. That guy goes up there, and he is in swing mode until he gets to 2 strikes, and then it's like he starts his at-bats after that. Almost seems to be that that's what the game plan for him is. Like, it's almost like that's what he's instructed to do. I saw somebody put a tweet out there, a fellow Cardinals fan, that said, I have a feeling Nolan Gorman doesn't have much of a personality. That's been a take on mine. I don't really see that there's a lot going on between the ears there. Could be wrong on that, just what I see from the outside. But get the Astros right now, which this is kind of a big series in the sense that these are 2 franchises who expect to be doing good things that are underperforming this season. Who somebody has to win these games, so that'll be fun to look forward to. We'll see where things come out on that one, but losing to the Phillies again is just as a reminder that they are that far away. Because I mean, again, the Phillies are a really good team too, but we'll see where they are. Baseball, what are we about? Not even halfway through, somewhere between the third and the halfway mark. So still a lot of baseball left to be played. But the Brewers have the biggest lead in all of baseball right now. I'm actually going to be going to Milwaukee. I just got to finalize the plans, but going to Milwaukee on the 24th. I'm going to see them play the Rangers, which will be nice because honestly, Corey Seager, I think, is one of the more unheralded players in baseball. So I think that when I go to these games, I'm going to focus on one guy for the at-bats and post them out as shorts because, they seem to get a lot of traffic. Again, I did Ohtani. I'm getting hits from all over the globe on that one, but we'll see Corey Seager. I think he's kind of a unheralded. We've just taken for granted what he's done and accomplished. I mean, he's been around for 10 years. Granted, injuries have been a concern for him, but I believe he's got 2 World Series rings already. And as somebody who needed to root against the Rangers on multiple occasions last year, it just seems like the guy hits the ball hard every time he gets the bat. Then I plan on making my trip over to Chicago to go see the White Sox because they're going to be playing the Dodgers. I know I'd said I didn't really care to see the White Sox again, but then I realized they are playing the Dodgers and seeing that lineup. I mean, again, you get to see 4 or 5 of the best players in baseball, then whatever the hell else the Dodgers have. It is amazing that they're complaining that they don't have enough offense. I mean, it's nice to have them all there. Maybe you got to stretch them out a little bit. I don't know. I mean, it's very unusual to have 3 MVPs and then another guy, the Will Smith, who's as good as he is, and then Teoscar Hernandez. I mean, Teoscar Hernandez batted cleanup for the Dominican World Baseball Classic team. He's no slouch. So, and he bats 5th or 6th, I believe. It's impressive stuff, but get to see them again. Some people say, or my concerns, going to the South Side of Chicago. Officially, the thing that I am scared the most of is Tommy Pham. Actually, maybe I don't want him to see my Cardinals hat. I know he doesn't have the greatest feelings towards the organization because he could have been making tens of millions of dollars if he wasn't in turmoil in our minor league system, according to him. I believe he may have played the card. I might forget if that was the case, but Tommy Pham, wow, he's just it's always funny because I mean here I am. This is the time of the year where you're grinding in fantasy baseball, and Tommy Pham's like one of those guys that is always on the waiver wire. It seems like every year, and if you catch him when he's running good, Tommy Pham when he's playing good is I don't want to say as good as any, but he certainly is a hell of a ball player. Speed power combo and just overall toughness, I would say, which he is not afraid to share. So yesterday, the play, if you look up the highlights here, I got to get better with the whole production value. That's the one thing I will tell you to anybody new watching here that's coming along at some point. Need to get a producer, need to learn what the fuck I'm doing. Mostly I just talk. And I do this all completely unscripted. I'd say that I'm preparing for my show by just living my life because the last thing I want to do is sound like an idiot. And I put what I think out there. And now that it's a recorded, documented takes, I have to eat my words when I'm wrong. And I strive to not be. Also, because I gamble, it's also expensive to be wrong all the time. So you don't want that at all if you can possibly avoid it. But Tommy Pham. So he was playing against the White Sox, and that's one of the things. The White Sox and the Brewers. I mean, they're only 2 hours away from each other. That used to actually be a pretty good rivalry back when they were both American League teams. When then Bud Selig moved the Brewers from the American League to the National League. Some people said for their benefit, that I would say, well, they haven't won a World Series and they haven't even been to one, so it didn't really work out on that end. But those two teams playing each other, and the White Sox, again, when you're that bad. I played on a really bad lacrosse team once upon a time, and winning doesn't become the priority sometimes when you're that bad. I mean, it's nice to try to win, but you're also mostly just kind of like, well, let's just fuck these guys up. That does become an attitude when you're on a losing team. I can tell you firsthand. But Tommy Pham in a game, a 1-run game, a sac fly, gets sent home. I mean, he also threw his third base coach under the bus in his explanation, but he is absolutely out by a mile at home plate. Although he did have a chance to try to avoid going right into the catcher. William Contreras, I should say, sets up pretty high. And Tommy Pham does it. What I would say as a guy who plays catcher is a pretty egregious, or it's an unnecessary slide. I don't want to say egregious necessarily, but it was completely unnecessary. Still getting a big out. I mean, that was, preventing a tie game, ending the inning. Contreras got a little animated. And again, I was not there, did not hear it. I don't know if anything he said was at Tommy Pham, but if he did, I mean, he has a reason to be upset about that slide, if you're asking me. But it seemed like, he was going back to the dugout. Now, did he realize that it was Tommy Pham that he got that reaction with? Because Tommy Pham was ready to go instantly. I mean, when he looks right into them and says, you don't want no problems, and then he kind of starts shadow boxing almost out there, like here's the thing is that, for a while Tommy Pham's been, he slapped Jock Peterson in the face over a fantasy baseball incident, was stabbed in the offseason one time. Guy seems to run a little bit hot. Now, again, he is an African-American man. And it seems that if you ever point out that he seems to be a little hot-headed or a little bit aggressive, that seems to trigger a certain crowd, or it stimulates a reaction that you are insinuating things based on race. No, I'd say it's pretty well documented evidence, in fact. And then to even double down on it, Tommy Pham's press conference. Now, he had a little bit of time to cool off on this one. And again, he tells his story of what happened there. and then does his tone of that. He's like, I don't start shit, but I finish it. And then says, there's a reason I do all kinds of fighting in the off season. I'm always ready to fuck somebody up or something along those lines. Basically, Tommy Pham is likes to fight guy, as Jim Rome used to say back in the day, and apparently he's pretty good at it, from what people want to say. I think that looking at the tail of the tape, he goes at about 6'1", 220. Contreras 5'11", 212. I would say normally a catcher's usually a little tough nose, but that might be a little bit of a size difference to overcome. Now with Big Bro, William Contreras or Wilson Contreras of the Cardinals, he runs about 6'1", 240. He also seems to run a little bit hot. Let's see that one go down, maybe. Let's, if the White Sox aren't going to win anything on the field, maybe we can get something going off the field. The Cardinals can certainly use the money. The White Sox could probably use the money. Maybe let's raise some bucks off this one. Who knows? That's just my free idea for you. Probably never going to happen. But anyways, Tommy Pham is always ready to go. So I am going to try to find to get a seat as far away from him as possible and not accidentally maybe, could be the worst thing. It could turn into something like the Malice in the Palace where he thinks I said something and, just ends up and kicks the shit out of me. I mean, he's runs a little hot, that Tommy Pham, and he's going to be the guy I use for the thumbnail here and probably in my title. Look out for Tommy Pham. So, and it's been a conversation all over the internets this week. I mean, I'm gonna go a little bit off course right now. I'm gonna go into the world of basketball because again, I once upon a time, believe it or not, was a bigger NBA fan, or at least I was following the NBA more closely than I was following baseball. That was around turn of the 2010s. Now it's always easy to say that, the era, I don't know if when you're in your 20s, you're always going to assume that that was the best era. That was some pretty damn good basketball, I would say. I mean, I've always been a defensive minded person. That was back when, where I'm going with this is we had the Detroit Pistons were a defensive minded team that shocked the world and won the NBA title, beating the Lakers in 5. Now, granted, that Laker team was kind of a thrown together unit and it was a collection of names, and that's neither here nor there. But a clip kind of emerged recently, and it was Rasheed Wallace saying that he believes that they would his '04 Pistons team would whoop the 2017 Warriors. Now, I think that that is a bit egregious for him to say that he would whoop them. But as I kind of started engaging through, and again, this is all on Twitter. I am at SCHO525 or X, whatever the hell they call it now. But Scho525, Scho-Zone, is that's how you say that. That's how you spell that. I engage in the little banters here and there. You can always tell now. I just realized I became the old guy arguing sports now. I'm not saying that they would beat them by any chance, but I think that when everyone was just saying that instantly it would be a sweep, I think that everyone's underestimating exactly how good. I mean, to say that any NBA champion can't compete with another NBA champion, that's not a hot take whatsoever. And it's funny that, again, you can tell the people who actually who have watched basketball over the years versus people who have just looked up stats. I can tell the person that I was arguing with was doing a lot of that because just the difference of eras. I mean, again, we're not going to go in, but there was an onus on defense there, and it's again, as I point out, is that it's not that guys couldn't do things once upon a time. It's just that they were never asked to, or the game plan was not conducive to doing so. A lot of 3-point shots were kind of not. They were not. You drew up the plays to them, but they were not just a regular flow of the offense. Or if they it was just not as big of a deal. The games were played in the paint a little more, so shooting percentages are going to be lower. Looking at point totals are always going to be lower. But the idea that started happening, where I just started laughing, was that somebody made the statement that that Pistons team couldn't even beat Tim Duncan and the Spurs. And that's when I've just realized that we've lost our fucking minds. I mean, when is that a disrespectful statement to say that you couldn't beat Tim Duncan and the Spurs? You know who else had a real hard time beating Tim Duncan and the Spurs? That LeBron character that some people would say is the greatest basketball player of all time. Yeah, his Miami super team, if it wasn't for a Ray Allen made 3. And this was at the end of Duncan's career, mind you, too. A continued stretch of success, just a big fundamental. He was taking some strays in some of these conversations, and I just don't think people realize that, yes, there was Steph Curry is absolutely amazing. And then I will say that he is a difference maker, and he's kind of created a lot of bad basketball because the things that he could do, not everyone else can do, but they think that they can now, or at least it's opened up the possibilities could it be done. But he was a one of a kind. Same with him and Klay Thompson being in the same backcourt. But again, I mean, a guy like Tayshaun Prince, I mean, I think that he would have succeeded very well in this role. A guy like I just think of all the floor spacing where again, 2 points versus three, but a guy like Rip Hamilton. I mean, again, I think that these guys who are good mid-range shooters, if you told them that they had to shoot more threes, that they were gonna, be not yelled at for shooting a bunch of threes, I think that they would have probably given a little more prep work into it, and those percentages would have risen. I'm not saying that the Pistons would have won, but the idea that they would just instantly get swept or be blown out of every game is ridiculous, if you ask me. And then I'm going to kind of transition this to the other things I brought up. Steph Curry. Going to go over into the WNBA world because that's just the predictable mess that it actually was that it's become right now with the war on Caitlin Clark, if you want to call it that. Here's my take on this. I don't think that she's necessarily innocent in this. Again, somebody who has played sports throughout the years, or at least when I was, at the highest level of which I played, if there was a up and coming young player, you definitely gave it to them a little bit, or you didn't want them to. If you're older and established in a league or something, you don't want a younger kid to be better than you in anything. I mean, not that I was really in any of those, but if I was playing lacrosse and I was a senior and I knew that the kid I was covering was a sophomore, well, I was never going to let that fucking kid try and get one over on me. I was going to give him everything possible because I'm 2 years older than him. He shouldn't be able to. Where I think that they are the a lot of this foul stuff coming in. I mean, again, Caitlin Clark does seem like she does talk a little bit of shit. I'm sure that, and one thing that good players are good at, as I got higher through the levels in playing lacrosse, good players are good at getting away with shit. I'll never forget the first time I played in a certain game above my normal skill level, getting butt end into the rib cage. No ref saw it. Looked at the guy, had done that many times before. Makes it a little harder to make a play when you can't breathe, I'll say. But I always knew that listening to NBA stuff, Dennis Rodman was always good about being able to hit you in the balls. That's why he was able to get a bunch of rebounds, stuff like that. But Caitlin Clark, one take I have on there is that maybe, everyone always has to go to race, 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 race. Yeah, she is a white girl playing in a predominantly black league. So that is going to be, there's is going to be a good chance that if she is hit, it's going to be by a black woman. Just playing the numbers on that one as a gambler. If you gave me, yeah, it's pretty good odds. That's how it's gonna go down. Has anyone considered the fact that she is a flopper? Okay, and there's nothing more annoying than someone that flops and then you getting ticky tack foul calls. So it might just turn into a whole thing. Well, if I'm gonna get called, I'm gonna make it fucking worthwhile. The play that everyone's going crazy about this weekend, yes, it was hard contact. I'm sure that she did not mind the foul. That girl, when somebody, it's funny when people say, "Oh, why does everyone say she's aggressive and not competitive?" Well, she's only been kicked off of every team that she's been on for aggressive behavior. So again, if it's the world, maybe it's just the world against her, which again could be speaking to a worse issue. Maybe I should just shut my fucking mouth on that one, actually. But when Caitlin Clark is getting hit like that, I mean, her initial reaction is to look at the ref, which is one of two things: I am flopping, or I am really that much of. Well, if it was men's sports, we would call you a pussy. I don't know if that's am I going to get canceled on YouTube for saying that? That's just the way that we spoke back in the early 2000s. And pretty much think that the locker room talk, I don't think it's changed too much. That's pretty much just what I have on that one. But looking forward to the NBA Finals, like I said, my pick, I'm going to go with the Mavs. And I think if you want to get some money on that one, if you want to pick Mavs in 6, I believe you can get like 5-1 on that one. I don't think it's going to be a one-sided series or anything like that. Definitely nothing like a 5 game. But if you get them into the 6, that just gives you an opportunity to create things to happen. So we're going with Mavs in 6 on that one. I got a ticket on the Florida Panthers from like a round ago to win the NHL Stanley Cup. Sorry to my friends who are Rangers fans, but that's the way that one went down. I don't know enough about hockey to tell you whether that's expert advice, but that's where I'm riding on that one. So if you want to follow and tail, again, I will maybe try to start posting some little bit of gambling picks. I mean, I have been good for one good hit a week on baseball, which is nice because it helps finance my baseball lifestyle. Because as I'm going to Wednesday, I'm going to be at Fenway Park. Trying to think of who the player. I'm probably going to be doing a lot of Rafael Devers content, I guess, because he's probably the player I'm most looking forward to see on that one. I believe he's a left-handed hitter as well, and I'm going to be sitting on the third baseline. So looking forward to that, taking my mother to the game, and gonna see how 3 hours of limited nicotine use or, nicotine use that could lead to me getting yelled at, or, just things that I'm 39 years old now and I still fear the same things I did when I was a teenager. I don't know if that ever changes, but, I was, forget what comedian it was. We love our mothers, but we also were full of shit, because the fact of the matter is that if any of us got a call from our mother right now or got a text from our mother, our initial reaction would be, what the hell does she want? Anyways, thank you for tuning into the Scho-Zone. Just happy to put something out there. And if I have any quick commentary or any good picks for you tonight on the baseball diamond, I'll be doing my research. Thank you for tuning in and have a good one. Tell a friend, subscribe, all that good stuff. I appreciate you.